All right, we are on YouTube again now, so go ahead, Ms. Mogenberg, motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I would move the court to bind the defendant over on the original 5 charges. First, with respect to count 1, I would ask the court to use the second alternative, which was the multiple variables, because I believe both of the incidents described by Macy happened after her 13th birthday. But again, she was 13 and they were members of the same household. Macy described the defendant touching her while she was on the couch with his finger and also with his penis. So count 2 would be the same, but again, that would be with Macy and that would be penis touching her vaginal area. Count 3 deals with Peyton Green, who testified. Obviously, she's still under 13 years of age, and there was touching of her vaginal area on the couch. She also testified with respect to count 4, an incident on Mother's Day where she was on the bed that belonged to the defendant and her mother. And again, her vaginal area was touched or rubbed by the defendant. With respect to count 5, I would ask the court to bind the defendant over, but I would ask for an amendment here making the victim in this count Macy Green. Macy testified, and I don't want to misspeak, but I believe Peyton also testified, but regardless, Macy testified that the defendant picked her up. She talked about the defendant grabbing the front of her shirt and holding her up against the wall. Again, they were residents of the same household. That was an act of domestic violence, and the defendant does have priors that occurred in Grand Traverse County. So I would ask the court to bind the defendant over on those counts 1 through 5. Thank you.
All right, response, Ms. Conlon.
Your Honor, I believe that on this record, there's probable cause to bind the defendant over. I agree with Ms. Mogenberg that it was only Macy that there was any probable cause set forth that there was any domestic violence, but not with Peyton, and Peyton was originally listed as the complainant on that count. I think if the court is going to bind over on that count, it's appropriate to amend it to be to read MG instead of PG. But again, Your Honor, the burden of proof being only probable cause, based on the testimony of the 2 witnesses today, I think that threshold's been met.
All right, thank you, Ms. Conlon. So I am going to bind over on an amended felony complaint as described by Ms. Mogenberg. That would be dismissing count 1. There was no evidence that the victim in that case, MG, was under 13 at the time the act happened. In fact, she testified it was in after her birthday in February. So for that reason, I'll dismiss the alternative count 1, the under 13. I am going to bind over, however, on count 1 and count 2. Those are both acts of criminal sexual conduct, 2nd degree, with a person 13 to 16 and being members of the same household with respect to MG. MG did describe in detail that there were at least, she described 3 separate acts where the defendant used his finger and or his penis to touch her vaginal area. and in fact said that her vaginal area was sore after the incident occurred, or that she was sore when she went to the bathroom afterwards, and also described the defendant using his finger. So there were at least two distinct acts there at separate times. And with respect to counts 3 and 4, PG was clearly under the age of 13 in both of those incidents. In fact, testified that she was 11 at the time that the acts occurred. She described acts of criminal sexual contact, that being two separate incidents, one in the mom's bedroom and one on the couch, where the defendant touched her on her vaginal area, her butt, as she described it, and also on her chest. Those could be all separate incidents, I suppose, of sexual contact, but there are certainly two separate incidents where those occurred according to the testimony today. So it can only be assumed that those the touching in all of these cases was for sexual purposes. It was touching under the clothes, skin to skin contact, and touching intimate parts of the children's bodies. With respect to count 5, the court will bind over on a count of domestic violence, third offense notice. MG described that the defendant lifted her so that her feet left the ground. At some point, pushed her against the wall. He was upset because she had apparently let a pet go out the door and shouldn't have. And he lifted her by her shirt. At some point, he kicked her. She did not describe injuries, but injuries are not required. She said she was clearly scared about how she was being lifted off the ground and pushed up against the wall. And so I will bind over on all of those counts as amended. And so Ms. Mogenberg, you'll prepare amended information, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so do you have the bind over form, Ms. Oden?
Oh, yeah, sorry. And just to be clear, so count 1, you're actually binding over on what's called the alternative count 1?
The alternative count 1.
Correct.
Yeah. Do I have to dismiss the other count 1, like you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so the defendant is bound over as described, and the next court appearance will be on August 25th. at 1 p.m. That is for the circuit court pretrial. And let's see, let's go to the arraignment next, Ms. Conlon.
Your Honor, I did have the opportunity to review the allegation, all the counts in the amended felony complaint with my client. And I think we both understand the amendment of count 5 to be MG instead of PG as the listed victim. We would waive a reading, Your Honor, and my client would plead not guilty to all counts.
All right, and you've no doubt informed your client of the maximum penalties for each charge as well?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so I will enter a not guilty plea on the defendant's behalf. And is there anything else we need to take up before we sign off?
Not from the people, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything for the defense, Ms. Conlon?
No, I'm sorry. I said no, but I guess you didn't hear me. No, no, thank you.
No, if I didn't, sorry. Okay, so we're all set for today. And thank you, Ms. Reed. You can feel free to sign off at this time. And thank you, Ms. Mogenberg and Ms. Conlon.
Thank you,
Thank
Judge.
you.